Alright, so in today's video, I'm going to rank every single new champion from 2025 from worst to best. This should be a pretty fun list. My opinions are probably going to be pretty different than a lot of other people because I usually think about the game a bit differently. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into like the ranking criteria for how they're being ranked from worst to best. And for me, it's pretty simple. It's impact on a person's account who is trying to be extremely competitive. So if you pull this champion, how important are they for you to be competitive? Which includes Alliance War, also Battlegrounds, of course, and pretty much just everything in the game. Like, even long-form content, while it's not nearly as important as competitive content, like War and BGs, it still means something. So like, I'm gonna give it like a little bit of a thought, but BGs and War are the big things, and maybe stuff like Coliseum and other game modes, even questing and stuff, like, it needs to be evaluated. But this is like, how helpful will they be for a player's account who is trying to be competitive, because that's kind of what I am trying to be. So yeah, that's going to be my ranking criteria. So there are going to be no buffed champions. It's only new release champs. I considered putting Cyclops in because he technically counts as a new release. I'm going to exclude him. So we have like 23 champs here instead, except leaders there for some reason, because I don't know why, but he's got like a 2025 tag in the game for some reason. It's bugged. It'll get fixed next month, I'm sure. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with, of course, no one is going to see this as a surprise. It's Joaquin Torres. And I'm going to keep this quick. He doesn't do enough. He has a slow, and that's about it. His damage is fine. It's not bad, but he doesn't have enough utility. He has no immunities. He just doesn't have enough in his kits to make him really shine in the game. And I'm really not going to spend a lot of time talking about these champs. So we're just going to go ahead and move on to the next champ, which is going to be Dracula. And Dracula is kind of similar to Joaquin, except I think he does a lot more. It's just what he does doesn't matter as much. So he's going to be very good at fighting Deathless Thanos, but the other Cosmic Defenders, he's really not. He's got some nice regen. He's got a nice slow, and even better slow than Joaquin, honestly. He's got a nice fear. And his damage just isn't very good, though. Like, his damage might be arguably the worst of the year. I'm not even joking. I think he might have some of the worst damage this entire year. And his utility just isn't strong enough yet until we get, like, another Cosmic Defender where that slow and where that fear is going to matter a lot more. Because he can't take Serpent, Dark Phoenix. He can do Maestro okay. He can do Deathless Thanos really good. And that's just about it. There's not much to say about this champ. So coming in at third from the bottom is going to be Silver Samurai, and this might be a controversial take. This is another champ where it's just like, he hits very hard, but I don't think he really does enough. He's very good at fighting Yelena, obviously. He can take Bullseye reasonably well, but he's not good for any of the Thorns champs, like the Thorns trio in the skill class, and he doesn't really have any utility pieces spreading him outside of the skill class. He's got resistance to bleed, which is great, but that's kind of it. The energy basics is pretty nice too, but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, he's just a champ who hits very, very hard and doesn't have a lot else to do, which in a 2025 game, that doesn't really mean that much, because you really need to be able to counter a lot of defenders or just have an absurd amount of utility. And I don't think Samurai has either of those things. So that being said, we're gonna start like grouping some mutants together, because I think Gentle is going to be my next pick. Gentle does a lot more than Samurai does, in my opinion. Not necessarily against the skill class, but outside of the skill class, he's going to be pretty good. Like, he's objectively insane for Bullseye. He's a very, very good Bullseye counter. The bleed immunity is really nice. I like the pursuit. I like how he interacts with a bunch of nodes. And what's also putting him a little bit above Samurai is the fact that he is a good champ on defense. I think his damage is probably a little bit worse than Samurai, but also has some really nice nuke potential for just generic stuff. And this guy can stall and just be really annoying on BG's defense. He's always on War defense too. He has a lot more uses than Samurai does, in my opinion, so that's why he's a little bit above him, but they're still close to the bottom of the list, right? And then we're going to go and move on to another mutant, and that's going to be Cassandra Nova. And I think Cassandra, of the mutants that we've talked about so far, is the best. She takes literally the entire skill class. Like, there's not a single skill defender I can think of that she's really bad for, which is absolutely amazing if you can be a champ who counters your entire class, for sure. On top of that, her fear is really nice. I like it a lot. But, like, the main thing I want Cassandra to do is counter the entire skill class. And while she doesn't do a lot outside of that, that just means that you're just a really strong champ for a BG's deck if you can take an entire class. She has some defensive potential. I think Gentle's better at it, but she's definitely better than Samurai on defense. So there's something there. But yeah, she's still going to be in the bottom 5 for me. And if Jean Grey wasn't as ridiculous as she is, Cassandra would legitimately be top 10. It's just Jean Grey is ridiculous. She outshines Cassandra a lot, in my opinion, which, you know, sometimes that kind of thing just happens. I have a rank 4 of both, and pretty much everything I'd want Cassandra for, Jean Grey does better. There are a couple matchups outside of that, like Nick Fury, Cassandra is just way better for. But yeah, it's just kind of that simple. So we finally move away from the bottom 5, and we can go ahead and move up to a bit stronger champs now, even though I think Cassandra was like the tier break where it's like these are all B tier champs now. Like I think Cassandra is B tier, even like high B tier, close to A tier now, because this year honestly is just ridiculous. There's just so many ridiculous champs that came from this year that even like the 5th worst I think is a very good champion, because Cassandra can do a lot for you. But we'll go ahead and move on to my next pick, which is going to be the Lizard. The Lizard is similar to Cassandra in which he counters pretty much an entire class. Like, everything that would be placed on defense that's a Mystic, Lizard's going to be very good for. I love his tracking. It's very, very good utility. I love the poison. I love the unstoppable. He's got a lot of really nice pieces in his kit that translates to different areas of the game, especially in like Alliance War. He's not going to be a great defender, and I don't have too much to say about him. He's just the best Nico Minoru counter in the game. He's very fun for Enchantress, pretty good for Kindred. And yeah, I think as more Mystics get released that have defensive potential, his stocks are going to rise. Oh, and Paviter Prabarkar is a bit of a defender that Lizard would be very, very good for because of his buff immunity. So moving on, we're going to go ahead and rank Frankencastle next. This champ is a champ I played a lot on the beta and I really, really liked. I recently took him up to rank 3 on my live server, probably rank 4 soon, but he's like the best high evolutionary counter in the game, and I enjoyed using him for other defenders as well, like Nico and Arnim Zola. He's a very good Arnim Zola counter, has the heavy reach and stuff. And there were a couple other defenders I can't remember right now that he was really fun for, but I know there's a lot to this kit, and there's going to be some people who are going to enjoy playing him in BGs a lot. His crush is really nice, his poison immunity and a regenerate modification immunity is pretty nice. And yeah, we'll see how he ages, but I like this champ a lot, and I think a lot of other people will enjoy ranking him up later as well. At this point in the list, we're going to go ahead and have a couple defenders back to back to back. Because I think these champs are going to be mainly pure defense, however, with some attacking capabilities. Of course, I think every single defender from this year has had attacking capabilities, but like the 4 5 out of 5 defenders are all going to go in a slew back to back to back to back here. And we'll go ahead and talk about why they're in this order. But yeah, every single 5 out of 5 defender I think is going to fit right here in this list. And then after that, it's going to be a bit more two-way, very strong attackers and stuff. The reason for that is I think attackers are much more valuable for an account to have than like these 5 out of 5 defenders. Like, you obviously want to have 5 out of 5 defenders, but they're all replaceable, right? Like, I don't have a rank 4 Serpent because I don't need it. I can place other things on defense. if I have the option between Zola, Evo, Dark Phoenix, like, I can rank any of them, or I could not rank any of them. I want to have some 5 out of 5 defenders, but it's not like any of them are irreplaceable. So that's why they're at this point in the list, and we'll go ahead and start with Zola. Zola is my next pick, and my pick for the worst 5 out of 5 defender this year, mainly because he's just gotten replaced too fast. Like, Carolina came out, who just walks over him. Most Cosmics recently walk over him, like we had Cull Obsidian getting buffed, and I can't think of a lot of other ones right now. Imperios is very, very good for him, and there's just a lot of non-Cosmic champs who also take him very well, like I mentioned Frankencastle earlier. And on attack, I think he's got some pretty nice attacking capabilities. Maybe not the best of the 5 out of 5 defenders we're going to see. Like, I think there's only one 5 out of 5 defender this year with worse attacking capabilities than Zola. But Zola still can do some cool things on attack. I just don't think it's enough to put him any higher on the list. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next 5 out of 5 defender, which is going to be High Evolutionary. This guy's an absolute stone wall on BG's defense if you're playing a champ who isn't named Okoye or Lumitrix or Frankencastle or Mr. Knight. Basically, if you can't draft a skill champ who's just targeted to take this guy, he is going to absolutely ruin your life, which is really great. It's just the fact that, skill champs nuke him fast, as skill champs do. But if you don't have access to a skill champ, this guy is like taking a serpent with a mutant champ. Obviously, that's a bit of an extreme. He's gonna not try to kill you as much as he is going to try to time you out, which Serpent does very well at both. But all I'm saying is, he's basically an auto-win on BG's defense if they don't have a skill champ, and you have a semi-ideal matchup. On attack, he really doesn't do much at all. Quite frankly, I don't think he's a good attacker at all. Probably the worst attacker, just pure attack-wise, of this entire year. Like, I'd take Hakim or Dracula over him for attack, but his defense potential brings him up to this point in the list. We'll go ahead and put Dark Phoenix next. I think she is the strongest defender of the year. And I think that kind of goes without saying. Even with Paviter and Nico coming out, I think she is just the most BS defender of the entire year. And her attack potential is really good. I don't think it's insane for BG's attack. She can do some cool things, not as good there. She's got some really good utility for war. With the one-hit heavy attack, one-hit special one, you can use it for all the hazard shift nodes and stuff like that because you barely get any debuffs on you. And she's really, really good for long-form content. One of the only great champs for long-form content who have come out this year. And yeah, she is that strong on defense, but the only 5 out of 5 defender I'm going to rank higher than Dark Phoenix is Yelena, because I think Yelena is a better attacker than Dark Phoenix on war and on BG's. And the utility of just shutting off Miss and Evade, being poison immune, the attack rating cap, she just has so many good utilities for attack that come into play a lot, especially in Alliance War, and on BG's attack sometimes too. Like, I use her for Photon and Spider-Woman sometimes in a pinch. I think she's the second best defender of the year, probably better than Evo, although it's close. Definitely better than Zola, and I think Dark Phoenix is the only one who edges her out, but I think Evo might be a better defender than Yelena, but it's hard to say. But I think of the 5 out of 5 defenders, overall Yelena is the best, even though she has a lot of counters, especially with like every mutant countering her now. She still has her uses on BG's defense and is a really good two-way to draft. So that does it for the 5 out of 5 defenders on the list. Every single champion above this, I think, is stronger than all of them overall for like helping your competitive account. And the first champ who is going to be in that section is going to be Mr. Knight. Mr. Knight, another champ who shuts down an entire class defensively, being the science class, I mean. He is like the best option for Spider-Woman and Photon at just turning off their kits. There are going to be champs who can do them faster, but literally he shuts off like every single defense ability they have. He's very good for High Evolutionary still. He's going to be very good for Rhino when he becomes a 7-star that plays on BG's defense. And honestly, I don't think he's like great outside of fighting the science class, but with how well he shuts off the entire class, I think he deserves to be above the other champs. And I played this guy a lot. I absolutely love him for so many different things. The Panic is super good utility too for matchups outside of the science class. Like, I use him for Lumitrix, I use him for Nico, just because he counters the mists like that. Any evade node, he's just gonna be really good for, because that Panic is super reliable. So yeah, I think he's a very, very strong champ who is going to have stocks rise in the future. So after Mr. Knight is going to be another trio of a class. And I'm going to go ahead and rank these guys all at once. This is going to be a trio of Maker, Bastion, and Solvark. The reason they are all back to back to back is because all three of them do everything you could want a tech champ to do. They counter basically the entire mutant class, and while they have certain advantages against each other, Maker's an incredibly good support champ who fights very well outside of mutants. Bastion is just like the best hazard shift counter in the game. Solvark is also one of the best hazard shift counters in the game, but also a two-way champion and can be placed on defense. It's just super good for any energy damage dealing matchup. So yeah, like all three of them, Maker, Bastion, and Solvark, I'm going to rank back to back to back because, again, they all are just that ridiculous, and you can use them for so many different things. I think, like, the rule for these three is, like, you can rank two of them and get everything you want out of a tech champ. No matter which two you pick, they're just going to be super, super good. And then ranking three is just, like, overkill. Like, you get so much out of the tech class. You don't need any tech champ if you have these three. Like, if you have these three at rank 4, you will not need to rank a tech champ pretty much ever again, because they are that ridiculous. So I'm not going to talk about them anymore. I'm just going to rank all three of them. I'm going to say Maker is the least best, Bastion's the middle, Solvark is the best. Solvark is only the best because he is a good champ on defense as well. That is what gives him the edge. And Maker is my favorite tech champ of the year, so it's like I'm not even being biased. I'm putting him as the worst of the three, but I'm ranking them all together because they all are that strong. So after the tech trio, we only have 7 champs left. So yeah, that kind of started the top 10, I guess, with Maker. But anyway, my number 7 champ is going to be Okoye. I think this might be lower than what a lot of people would have Okoye. I'm not as high on Okoye as a lot of people, but I understand how ridiculous she is. She's kind of like Mr. Knight, where she counters all the big science defenders, but she doesn't shut their kits off like Mr. Knight does, but she also just hits ridiculously hard, and that's kind of why she is better. She takes all those champs very well, especially because of how hard she hits, and she's just like a really generic nuke for anything that can be bled or shocked. You ideally want to use both, but even if you can't, we've seen how ridiculous she is at fighting Photon, who is bleed immune. Her damage is ridiculous. She's really good for Bullseye. I think she might not age extremely well, but just depending on what new defenders show. But she is a very strong champ with that ensnare, the extra combo gain, and she just hits ridiculously hard. And that's kind of one of the best things about her. So we're going to go ahead and move on to number 6, which I'm going to say is Carolina Dean. I think Carolina Dean has an argument for the best 7-star Cosmic champ in the game right now, and it's just because she does so much damage. She has that really good, glance on the block. She takes every single tech champ in the game, which, unless they're Incinerate immune, don't use her for Penny Parker. Other than that, yeah, she's really ridiculous. She hits incredibly hard, like I already said. The only thing that's keeping her at 6 and not in the top 5 is the fact that the tech class just is not good on defense right now. It's probably the worst defensive class in the game. Hopefully that'll change soon. We'll see if Carolina's really good for the next tech defender we get. But even the utility of never really placing debuffs to do your damage is super good. Those Incinerates being passive is great. She ends up taking so many different defenders on a node 38 in Alliance War, the Hazard Shift nodes with Incinerate or Cold Snap on them. She's super good for, and she can just do a crap ton in Alliance War, and we know how ridiculous she is for BGs. So yeah, this champ is absurdly strong and probably will age very well. Doesn't do anything on defense, which is another reason she's not cracking the top 5 for me, but absolutely nothing to scoff at being number 6. Okay, my number 5. Number 5 best champion of 2025 is going to be Spider-Man Peter Parker. This guy is insane. He has one of the best power control rotations in the entire game, where you're just killing defenders before they drop a special attack. He counters every single meta Cosmic in the entire game. He's not the best against Thanos or the best against Maestro, but he is able to put up 50k scores against them in Battlegrounds. He's mainly made to ruin Serpent and Dark Phoenix's life, and he does that very well. I wouldn't say he's the best counter to either of those two. I'd say Spiral's better for Serpent and Nico is better for Dark Phoenix, but he also doesn't need to be the best because he does it so effectively. He's an option as a decent champ to throw on BG's defense with the evade, but I wouldn't rely on him being there. I think there are enough champs who will be able to nuke him down, but his attacking potential, just simply because of how ridiculous that power control is, where you are just killing opponents before they go red, is super good. And I really like this guy. He's in my number 5. My number 4 champ of the year is Jean Grey. And this is probably the longest span of one champ in a class and then the next champ in a class. Like, I put Cassandra in bottom 5 and I'm putting Jean in top 5. Because that's just how much value Jean steals from the rest of the mutant class, because how ridiculous she is. This is arguably the best mutant champ in the game. It's just the fact that Sinister and Onslaught are so broken that, like, I understand why Jean is probably the 3rd best, because Onslaught and Sinister are like 2 of the most overtuned champs in the entire game. So it's insane that Jean, being as ridiculous as she is still like the 3rd best mutant, because she counters like the entire skill class. She's like one of the best war attackers right now, especially when Onslaught is out of the picture. She just does everything you could want a mutant to do, and on top of that, she's like a really good stall threat on BG's defense, a really good threat that you can just mess up against. Like, I just can't express how good Jean Grey is, how much I love using her myself, and I'm just gonna move on, because, like, you know how ridiculous Jean Grey is. It's not even a question. So, my number 3, this might be a hot take. This is Lumatrix being this high on the list. I am one of the biggest Luma believers out there. A lot of people probably have him outside their top 5, but not me. I think this guy is the 3rd best champion released this year. I think he is the best champion in the entire year outside of the number 2 spot for fighting the entire class wheel. Like, he's so good against every single class in the game with certain defenders. He's able to take, like, Enchantress and Nico very well on the Mystic class. He's able to take... I'm not sure there's a lot of Cosmics, I guess, because Cosmics are just so limited to RBG, but, like, he's so good against Sentinel and Red Skull and a bunch of different tech defenders. You can use him for Zola. I like using him against Jean Grey in the Mutant class. He's so good for Photon, Evo, and the Science class. What's the one I missed? I don't remember, but he's probably good for something there, too. I think it was Skill. I like using him for Lumatrix himself, and even Nick Fury sometimes. But, like, that doesn't even matter, because, like, his main thing that makes him so good is he's a champ who doesn't gain buffs, doesn't place debuffs, doesn't even need to block to get openings. He just gets openings whenever he wants. He just hits the opponent. He doesn't even need to think about using the block button, placing a debuff, or gaining a buff. It means he's one of the most versatile champs in the entire game when it comes to fighting node sets. He's also immune to Rupture. He's immune to Bleed, which is super good immunities, allowing him to take so many different things in Alliance War with Hazard Shift and just nodes in general. Like, this guy's fighting, like, the unblockable Dust node because he just doesn't need to block. His endurance is ridiculous. Endurance is just an ability that's just going to get better and better over time against, like, High Evolutionary and Photon as well, and other defenders who are just placing non-damaging debuffs that you want to get rid of immediately. Like, I could talk about this guy on and on and on and how ridiculous he is. He's one of the best Alliance War attackers in the game. The most auto-draftable skill champ in BGs for me. Like, if I see this guy, I'm just taking him almost no matter what. And I need to stop talking and move on to the next champ so this video doesn't get too long, but yeah, he is my personal pick for, like, the best champ of the year that I play a ridiculous amount of, even though I'm putting him at my number 3. But my number 2, everyone knows who these last 2 are, and it's honestly a toss-up for which you have at number 2 and which you have at number 1. This might be a controversial take. My pick for the number 2 champ of 2025, for some reason I don't even see on the list here. I don't know why. She must have a bug tag or something. But it is Spider-Woman. Wherever she is, right there. Maybe I'm blind. I don't know. I'll probably edit it in if I was blind. This champ is better than Lumatrix at fighting outside the class wheel. Like, this is probably the most versatile champ in the entire BGs. She counters everything that the Mystic class has to offer, essentially, and just takes so many different matchups outside that. Like, I have a video of her fighting like 20 different BG's defenders that are like reasonably placed. And yeah, she's obviously getting changed next month. I don't think it changes her value at all, especially with the fact that, you know, they caved and gave her evade counter back, which she didn't need. Even if she didn't have the evade counter, she'd still be in this number 2 spot. She's also just a ridiculously overtuned champ for defense, which is going to get changed next January, which might bump her down a little bit. I'd still have her at number 2 because she is going to still be ridiculous on BG's defense with the evade and the fumble still. Just not as BS as she used to. And yeah, like, this champ there's only one champ that I think is better than Spider-Woman, and this champ is just banned in war all the time. She's the most auto-draftable champion in the entire BGs. Like, there is not a single champ in the game that I would just, like, no-think pick more than Spider-Woman. And the only champ I think is better from her from this year is, of course, Nico Minoru. And the only reason that Nico is better is because I think she's the most irreplaceable champ on any person's account. I think that what this champ does, there is no champ in the entire game who is going to have as much value for that thing as Nico is. Just saying no to any buff in the entire game, just with a pre-fight. Placing the buff immunity, and boom, Serpent's deleted, Dark Phoenix is deleted, Maestro's deleted, Deathless Thanos is deleted. Like, she takes every single Cosmic in the entire game with ease, except for, like, freaking Null, who's, like, no one is placing on BG's defense unless you're me. And she's just one of the best war attackers in the game, who's also constantly banned, because just every single node set with a buff, boom, it's not there. She also has Poison and Rupture immunity, which you can use for, you know, once a quest, which makes a lot more sense for BGs than in war, but sometimes you're just fighting that one Hazard Shift node, you only need it once. She's also a ridiculous defender, maybe not as strong as Spider-Woman on defense, but she is just going to be super annoying if you aren't poison immune. And yeah, like, the only reason I think she's above Spider-Woman is because, like, no one has buff immunity as strong as she does. And buff immunity in this state in the game, I think, is, like, one of the strongest utility pieces in the entire game, if not the strongest. And while I think, like, you can do a bunch of different things, like, you don't need Spider-Woman to be competitive, because, like, there's no just defender set that Spider-Woman just shuts off with ease and other science champs don't. No, Nico just takes every single Cosmic in the game, and, like, some Mystics aren't able to take every single Cosmic in the game. It might sound a little weird, but all of that is just to say that I think Nico is irreplaceable, and Spider-Woman, you could make an argument that there are other science champs who are doing things, maybe not as effectively as she are, but, like, her targets are as effectively as she does. So, I don't know. It's a controversial take, probably. I think Nico is my number 1. People might agree with me, people might not. But yeah, that's my list for the best champs of 2025. I think literally starting from Gentle, every single champion is a really good champion. So there's only 3 that I think are just kind of mid or not good. Because this year has just been as ridiculous as it gets for champ design. And it means that every single champion has value. And that's one thing that I really like, which I've mentioned a lot before. I love how every new champ is super strong. Except for, like, the 3 champs, like I said, who I think are kind of mid at best. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Tell me what you think I got right. Tell me what you think I got wrong. How would you make your list differently than mine? Because I know this is probably an unpopular list. But yeah, we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next video.